Good morning. This is Robert Goodman here on Positive Stroke, staying clean, and I'm so blessed that you're a part of my recovery and that you're here. Today, we're going to talk about Nobody Knows My Story. And the reason I picked this as the topic is because that when I came from active addiction into recovery and I shared my truth, my story, I didn't share everything. I didn't share all the pains, and I was focused on just mostly about the addiction and the getting and using and the trials and the tribulations that it created in my life. But the true trauma and pain, my story, was not shared at that particular time because it was very, very painful. It was a time when giving up seemed the best thing to do, to just check out. And as I look back at my situation and I've listened to other people's share their strength and their hopes and their story with me, I realize that we don't share all that's going on with inside of us. We don't share that deep pain, that deep trauma. We don't share it all. We still hold on to that pain and that shame. But I realized in my recovery that I must share the things that I hold on to because those are the things that keep me bound in my recovery. It bounds me to slow my progress in living my best life. It slows me down on letting go and let a power greater than myself restore me to sanity, which addiction has taken away from me. The interesting thing is when we do share our most intimate pain that we've experienced in our lives, people may understand, but they truly don't understand the depth of the pain that we've experienced or how deep it hurt us or the trials and tribulations that our pain has brought us through. But also, our pain made us grow. My pain allowed me to grow. It was very hurtful. It was very painful. It almost destroyed me. But I kept moving forward, not understanding that this way was just making my skin or my mental strength stronger to deal the ups and downs of life and life situations. My pain that I experienced in my past, the trauma that I experienced in my past made me have a tougher skin, made me to stuff those feelings and emotions and them things that hurt me so deeply. But recovery made me get in touch with this pain and these feelings and to bring it out of me so I can let it go. And by me letting it go, I learned to live a better life. I didn't know that pain had bound me in my addiction. The pain and the things that happened in my past bound me and kept me locked in a mental jail, in a situation of living life the way I did and the choices I made. I learned in time in recovery that the pain brought me through situations to help me stand strong in my recovery. Pain. Yes, it made me realize just how important I have to be to myself. Pain has showed me that the most important person in the room is Robert. The most important person in the room that you're in is you. And when you give yourself the attention and the time that you deserve and you need, then you're on the road to making your life better. But if you're all giving all of yourself to others and their situation, then what happens is you do not have defenses or things in place to protect you for life situations that pop up and will catch you off guard. But if you're paying attention to yourself, your actions, and what's going on around you, you're able to protect yourself from the mistakes of life. Pain, I lived for many years. I lived in a pain mentality for 40 years. I allowed my trauma at a very young age to live rent free in my head for 40 years, which caused me to live my pain, my trauma over and over and over again. And what that was doing was it was constantly beating me down, destroying any hope of enjoying life on life's terms, to have a smile on my face. But all I could see was the negative side of life. Pain. The understanding that I received from being in recovery for some years and helping others in recovery is that I listen to their sharing their strength and their hopes and their situation, but I don't have the depth to actually understand just how powerful and painful their situation was because I'm from the outside looking in. But if I was living in them, then I could understand their pain. That's why it's so important for each person to find their way in recovery, to find out what works for them, to find out how they can overcome the pain and the trauma of addiction and the things that happened in their life that devastated them, that hurt them so deeply. I cannot feel their depth of pain. I can understand it, but I can't feel their depth of pain. And since I can't feel their depth of pain, then I don't understand just how deeply that a pain affected them because I'm from the outside looking in. That's why it's so important for each person to learn what works for them in their recovery, what they need to do for themselves in their recovery, and how they can live their best life in recovery. It's that simple. But we, being complicated people, this is what makes recovery hard. Recovery is simple. They show you your steps, what you need to do, but we make it complicated because we want to do things our own way. And even though that we went down a path that destroyed our lives, and we come into recovery, all of a sudden we have the best way of doing things. We think we do. But how can we know anything about recovery if we didn't live it? Excuse me. That's the thing. How can I understand another person's pain because I cannot walk 1,000 miles in their shoes? I can't feel what they feel. I can't understand the choices that they make. I can try to, but I cannot live within that person's shoes to understand what they was going through fully. That's why recovery is up to you for yourself. It's up to you to do what you need to do with yourself for your recovery. Pain. Now, I just want to move forward into the pain category of it's Sunday's going to be Father's Day. And those that are fathers, there are a group of fathers in recovery that regain their connection with their children, that they built a sound, solid relationship with their children, that they overcome the past. But there's also some other men that are in recovery that has lost the connection with their children, that they'll never ever get their connection back. And as every year in June on Father's Day, the tears and the pain hits these men in recovery. They silently suffer the loss of someone they love. They truly want to get reconnected with them, but they're not in a position for that to happen. They accept that they have no control over people, places, or things. They only have control over themselves. They've done everything they can to bridge a connection, but the other side is not connecting back. And they suffer in silence, wishing that they can mend a situation that has been broken due to trauma of the past and addiction, pain. So Sunday, for some, is going to be a blessing day. The rewards of getting their loved one back into the fold, of living life on life's terms, living in recovery. And then there are also going to be some that's going to be suffering for the loss of not being there for the ones they love, their children. But what we want to do is we want to be there for those who are going to suffer alone, that they're not going to be connected with their children. We want to walk with them through the fire so they can come out on the other side stronger than ever. See, nobody knows the pain that a person lives from their past mistakes, from things that I've done to them. We may understand what they're going through, but we can't feel the magnitude of the pain that they've experienced through their life with that situation. And that is the depth that a person has to overcome to live their best life. Yes, it's not easy. Yes. That's why we hold on to the statement that when we come into recovery, we will love you until you love yourself. And when situations like this comes, like Father's Day on Sunday, that people are not going to be connected with their children, that pain is going to hurt. And it's going to open up a door of emotions and feelings. What we can do for those that are facing these things is that we can walk with them, be a part of their situation to make them feel connected, loved, and respected. When a person is going through that loss and they're feeling it, they don't need words. They just need someone to be there. So when they're ready to express and to let go and to ask for your assistance in helping them get through it, that you're there, ready and able and willing. When we're going through pain, I know when I'm going through my emotional and pain, there are times when I'm watching a movie and it has reference to your mother and not being able to be there because she's gone. And they wish they could have shared some last words or spent some time with them. And my tears start to roll down my eyes because I felt the same and I still feel the same way. I miss her. I wish I had spent more time with her. I wish I was there when she was about to leave. And that pain is deep, it's hurtful, but I don't go pick up. Recovery teaches me to go through the pain, to feel the emotions, to feel the lack of connection that I so dearly wanted. And it keeps me humble because the mistakes I've made in the past carry into my present because it still hurts. And it will always hurt because it meant everything to me. So my recovery is learning to live with pain and the mistakes I made. And the most powerful thing with all that is that it keeps me humble. So I can't sit and tell someone else to do or say or act a certain way because of the mistakes I've made in my life. I believe that a person needs to find their way, just like I found my way into recovery. I made a decision to come into recovery. So I realized that I stayed in active addiction because I choose to stay in active addiction. But when I wanted to change my way of thinking and my life, I chose recovery, a road that I knew nothing about. And I realized that everyone has to make a decision to change their habits and their way of life to make their life better. It's up to them. They know what they need to do to change their behavior. And until a person chooses to change their behavior to make their life better, to understand and to be able to deal with the choices that they made from the past, it's up to them. The most powerful thing that recovery taught me is I had to learn to live with the mistakes I made in my life. And that's not an easy task to do, but it's the only task that you're required to do if you want to stay clean and sober. You must learn how to live with the mistakes that you made. And by me learning how to live with my mistakes, it keeps me humble. It makes me think and know that Robert doesn't know everything. Robert has made a lot of mistakes in his life. So he doesn't know a lot, but he knows enough to keep himself clean and sober. He knows enough to make his life better. He knows enough to be able to move forward in his recovery. I hope what I shared this morning will help you with your recovery. Understand that we all have our past pain and situations and bad choices we made in our lives that creates a ripple effect into our present. But we must learn how to live with the mistakes we made. We must learn not to be ashamed because we're human. We all make mistakes. And when we realize that, then that takes the pressure of the shame and humiliation that we feel. And when we leave that from the equation, then we're learning how to live with the mistakes we've made in our lives. This is Robert Goodman from Positive Stroke Staying Clean, wishing you a great day and understand that Robert works on Robert to make Robert better. You work on you to make you better. And in turn, we learn from each other. You have a great and wonderful day.